Hi, my name's Dave. I'm your host. You're listening to The Last Podcast, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm happy you found me. And if you're returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you listening, and I hope you continue to find tips, ideas, and value from listening to this podcast. Well, today I want to talk about how to make your shift in life. And I'm going to start off with a young lady by Jessica. You know, she had a shift in her life, and her story is about lasting change. Jessica started at her computer. She pretty much stared at her computer all morning long. And as another email popped in, it was the fifth reminder of her supposed to meet somebody, and she didn't attend. She sighed, feeling that familiar tightness in her chest, the one that, becomes daily companion, that feeling you get when something is uneasy, when something is just not right with you, or you're probably afraid of something. Well, I digress, but to anyone looking from the outside, Jessica had it all: a steady corporate job, a spacious apartment downtown, and even followers on social media earned compliments from strangers. But beneath the surface, something wasn't right. She felt like she was living a life that no longer belonged to her. She couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. She couldn't pinpoint the moment the discomfort began. Maybe it was last year when her mother passed away and left her a letter full of regrets and unrealized dreams. Could have been that. Or maybe it was the reoccurring Sunday night dread that reminded her she was trading her days for a paycheck, not a purpose. Whatever the cause, she knew something had to change. The breaking point came when it was a Wednesday afternoon when the shift started. Jessica was in yet another Zoom call when her boss made a snide comment about her lack of enthusiasm. Her cheeks flushed. She smiled politely, but something inside her cracked wide open. That night, she sat at her kitchen table, opened her journal, and for the first time in her life, first time I would say maybe in 10 or 15 years, she wrote the truth. I'm tired of pretending. I don't want this life. I want to create something new. I want to feel alive. I want to make a difference. Does that sound like anybody you know? She paused, rereading her own words, and tears blurred the ink. Then she wrote one more sentence. I am ready to change. The internal shift. Jessica didn't quite quit her job at the moment. Her job, she just knew. She had to stick with it. She didn't buy that one-way ticket to Bali or start YouTube channel. Instead, she did something even more radical. She listened to herself. She started asking questions. What do I believe about myself? Why am I afraid to start over? Does that sound like anybody you know? What would I do if I wasn't scared? Wow, that's powerful. She realized she'd been living out of someone else's definition of success. Somewhere along the way, she had accepted the belief that her worth was tied to productivity and performance. That her voice didn't matter unless it was validated by a paycheck or applause. The real shift wasn't external. It was internal. Jessica stopped asking, what should I do? And started asking, who do I want to become? She made a decision to become aligned with her values, her passion, and her voice. The practice of becoming. This was what she wanted. Over the next few months, Jessica built new habits. She woke up 30 minutes earlier to write her thoughts, dreams, and her creative ideas. Now, I don't know about you, but that's an awesome thing to start doing if you don't do it now. She started sharing her artwork, simple watercolor pieces on social media, not for likes, but for expression. This is who she is becoming. This was who she was inside already. She created boundaries at work, saying no to meetings that drained her and yes to tasks that aligned with her strengths. She joined a local creative group, rediscovering the joy of being seen for who she was, not for what she can produce. The transformation wasn't instant, but it was real. She didn't change her life overnight. She changed herself daily, and the life followed. Check this out. 6 months later, Jessica took a part-time consulting role and launched her own creative wellness blog. A year later, she published her first book, Waking Up to Yourself, a journey of inner shifts. But more importantly, she became someone new, not because she added more, but because she let go of what no longer served her. She found her voice. She found her peace. More importantly, she found her purpose. Reflection, right? That's what it's all about. Taking stock in yourself. What is your Jessica moment? Now, Jessica's story reflects of a journey, if you will, that many of us are invited to take. And we can take this journey at any given time. So I want you to take a moment and start your journey just right, freely for 10 minutes. Ask yourself some important questions that have been nagging you. And I know it's going to be a little hard at first. It's going to feel funny, but be brutally honest with yourself. Pick an area of frustration or restlessness that you have, right? What belief do you hold in that area? Ask yourself that. What would you rather believe about this idea that you have? You have to ask yourself that question. But more importantly, you need to find your own voice. You have to move from performing to expression, or fear to trust, or even silence to having a voice. I know it takes small steps, but what is one small action that you can take today to embody your new shift? What is it? Jessica's life changed, not in a moment, but in an instant that she made a decision to change. She chose to listen to the quiet whisper within. You don't have to burn everything down to start again. Sometimes all you need is the courage to pause, to reflect, and make a shift. Your shift is waiting today. So, what is that shift? A shift is that moment of internal awareness, an awakening, if you will, or a decision that alters how you perceive your life, yourself, the world around you. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, like realizing limiting beliefs you've carried, right, for a long period of time. Oftentimes, I can say probably it might not even be a bold decision. It might be a settled decision. From moving away from a toxic job or relationship. Shifts typically fall into 3 categories, and I'm just going to list them here. Mindset shift, changing how you think, right? Or emotional shift, it changes how you feel or respond. Or behavioral shifts, it changes how you act. And each type of influence, I think, or each type of shift can influence one or the other, or all 3. So you have to figure out what shift in life you want to make for yourself. And that shift, it could be stepping away from repeated patterns, or persistence of restlessness, or emotional triggers. It could be anything. Your shift, you have to figure out for your own self. Examine your inner dialogue, if you will. What are the reoccurring stories you'll probably be telling yourself? And I often talked about this on this podcast before. What's empowering you? What's limiting you? Listen for phrases like, I always mess up, right? I'm not that kind of person, or this just isn't my way of doing something, or whatever that might be in your head, that narrative that you hold and you constantly tell yourself. So you want to also find your emotional anchors. You have to identify that. Strong emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, whatever they are for you. Trace them back to when did it occur? When did it happen? When did you first feel this way? What belief is this emotion reinforcing? You got to ask yourself these questions. What would I have to believe differently, to feel something else. And then I want you to name it. Give your shift a name. From I'm not enough to I'm deeply valuable. Or how about this? Chaos is normal. Some people always say that, chaos for me is normal. But if you start seeing peace is my birthright, you might come away a whole lot better. I want you to find your shift in life. The only way you're going to do it is you start saying, what do I need to change to make this shift in my life? And you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And sustaining your change, sustaining your shift, that's more powerful too. Why? Why is it so powerful to sustain that change? Because you want to make sure that it's a lasting change, that this shift is a shift from the old to the new. Don't rely on your willpower for you. That will help and reflect your new shift. Surround yourself with reinforcements. Find people, books, or even communities that support your new shift. And not only that, your new identity, because like I said, your behavior, your attitude, all of that is going to go into your new shift. Because you can't make a shift if you don't change within first. So I want you to think about what I just went over in this podcast. And you could take a small step today. And you have to do that by yourself. What is one small thing I can make or I can take to embody my new shift today? And you have to ask yourself that. And if you want, you can go ahead and share it with somebody and see where it takes you. And I think you're going to have to probably build on a new belief system if your old one it doesn't work for you. Hey, listen, whatever you do in making your new shift and making that new change in your life, make sure you document everything. Make sure you journal 10 minutes every day about it, because this is going to give you points of reference of how things are transforming for you. And I want that for you. I want the very best for you. My name is Dave. You're listening to the last podcast. And do me a favor, tell your family and friends, co-workers and associates about this podcast. I thank you so much. But before you go and before I go, subscribe. Do me a favor right now. Stop what you're doing and subscribe and like this podcast. I thank you so much for listening. Be blessed and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.